the biggest failures in Y Combinator I've seen are the people that don't even present at demo day. Revenue solves all problems. Like that's just remember that like revenue and users will solve a lot of this. Users generally are really great investors because they give you so much feedback and they're aligned with you. Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for being here. We'll just kind of take questions in a private chat. Then we can kind of go through the questions. We'll have like an open forum at the end. One question you have about startups or a question just in general. I mean, there's like really three components to being successful at this point. For me, I think what I would do is focus on one, building a database of investors out that you want to talk to. Look at the Y Combinator database. So if you're in Y Combinator, they give you a secret database. Look at that. You know, there's three competing priorities. One is like figuring out investors. Two is like iterating as fast as possible on product. And then three is getting users and revenue. So like all of those are competing for your time and they may not align properly. Like building product may not be a product market fit today. So sales may not be good and then investors may not be interested. A lot of the time you have these like three competing things that just don't always align. I think my point being is like you have to iterate fast. You have to build something. And for me, I think that the biggest failures in Y Combinator I've seen are the people that don't even present at demo day. They literally get scared. They psych themselves out. They think they have nothing to show. And then they talk to nobody. They hide. They tell YC, I'm not going to do demo day. I'm going to wait till next demo day. It's probably the most disastrous thing. And I don't recommend you do it because momentum begets more momentum begets more momentum in any startup. So like you're never going to be perfectly ready to build stuff. You're never going to be perfectly ready to get that job. You're never going to know everything you're going to need to know for like whatever, doing that talk on stage. So it's like Y Combinator, I actively remember my co-founders saying, maybe we shouldn't do demo day. And I said, no, this is our chance. We have to do it. We have to do it now. There's never a right time for this stuff. You just have to present, you have to pitch, and you have to go out, and then you have to like just basically be there. So like for me, I would say build, get revenue, get users. Build, get revenue, get users every single day. Did I get revenue? Did I get users? You know, and then just keep iterating on the product. If you're like a long-term company and you can't get customers right now, that's okay. So like say you're designing like something for biotech and you can't get it out the door, it's just presenting and getting that ready as much as possible. So like getting everything kind of aligned. Maybe it's LOIs, letter of intents. Maybe it's just getting more of the right people on board, you know, like whatever, the PhD that you need to help you with your biotech company. But if you're building like a widget or a software and you can iterate quick, maybe it's like a competitor to the Aura ring or something. You have to get like version 1, like 3D printed, get it out there, show people, like get it ready. And then maybe you could take pre-orders like as fast as possible. But so for software, you have to like iterate daily. And this is just normal. You guys know this. And I can tell you this, like going through it, you never know if you have the right product. Nobody knows. So you have like 200 companies. Nobody knows who the big winner is going to be. The big winner today that has 200,000 in revenue may stagnate and not have the accelerated growth that like another company has within like a year. You know, Riplet. You see Riplet's revenue. I don't know if you guys know Riplet, but the revenue was like flat and dead. And then out of nowhere, it's like, boom, $100 million. It took time for them to like take off, but like they were building. And then out of nowhere, they get like the right time, right place, right product. And happened for them. It took them time. So I do recommend 2 weeks before demo day, you switch gears, or 3 weeks before demo day, and then start to go in investor mode, which means like build your database. You can use Excel, you can use Airtable, you can use any of these tools. You can use HubSpot, anything to like organize your investor database and then start talking to investors. So call it two modes. It's like sales and product mode or investor pitch mode. If you have an extra $1 million in your bank account before demo day, you suddenly have this confidence you didn't have before. So like if someone offers you $1 million and the terms are really good, what are really good terms? I don't know, just like a really high valuation, you know, and they don't want a board seat and they want no control. It's like, all right, you get that in the bank, you know, it's a really good emotional cushion for you where you can like push harder on the product. So like it's all competing all at the same time. So thoughts on engaging investors as app users before pitching them. I think that's a really great way to get an investor. There's a company called Pep Talk. True story. So I used this app for years, Pep Talk. And I just used it and used it and used it. And then one day I reached out to the founder and I said, hey, I love your product. I've been using it and paying for it. Is there any chance I can invest? And the founder was like, yeah, I live, here, and I live in France. And, if you're interested, you can put some amount of money in. Users are really good investors sometimes. If you get a user who's like going to harass you on the weekends and say, just not be so positive, I think that might be a bad investor. But users generally are really great investors because they give you so much feedback and they're aligned with you and they'll take the time. So let's say you're building a product for investment bankers, right? This is all theoretical. You're building a product for investment bankers and you close like 100 investment bankers and that they fit the criteria for like an angel investor. You can have that conversation with them and it immediately starts it off really, really good. I do think that that's like a later stage thing where like you have to have the product working, you have to have them using it. Maybe they're paying for it, maybe they're not. But anyone who's like a user already is like understanding of like what the thing is. It's a win. It's just a win because they know what the product is. And like you look at Google, a lot of the investors just were using Google before they invested. I love Perplexity. I did have the opportunity to invest in Perplexity. I didn't take it, but I would have because it's a freaking awesome product. Someone reached out and said, would you like to invest in Perplexity? I'm like, that was probably the dumb idea of mine to say no, but I'm like, I love the product. I know it works. I use it every day and it's like a rocket ship. I feel like that company is on a tear. It's like a Google type thing. But like if someone uses a product and they reach out, if the founder reaches out to you, you're going to feel like special as, you know what I mean? As like an investor or user. And you're going to be like, all right, let's have a conversation. And if they fit the criteria, there's specific criteria for angel investing. If they fit that criteria, then like, why not talk to them and have that conversation? A $3 million after personal tax exit. Okay. It depends. I'm not a tax expert, but there's different type of startups. There's services startups, and then and this is specific to the US, there's services startups and then there's software startups. Services startups, I'd call it like for like, which is you need $6 million in revenue. Say you're an accounting firm and it's a services business or a legal firm. Like for like is you need $6 million in revenue to get a $3 million exit. It might be a little higher than that actually, like just talking through it. So let's assume that the government's going to take 50% of everything, like in a services business. So if you have a $9 million business or a $6 million business, let's just say you sell it for $6 million. It's $6 million in revenue. What's going to happen is the government takes their cut. And this is just the way that it works. The government will take, let's say 50%. These are all, again, I'm not a tax person, but like this is just my high level thinking. So services businesses are great, but it's like for like, meaning if you have a $3 million business, you're going to sell it for $3 million. So you generally sell for like a 1x. 1 to 2x, which means like if you have a $6 million business, you're going to sell for $6 million. If you have a $9 million business, you're going to sell for $9 million. That's why services businesses are harder because like the revenue, it's like I've been working on this 15 years. I have $10 million in revenue and I paint. I'm a painter and I have a painting team and I do painting across the United States and we make $10 million a year. What's going to happen is someone's going to come along and say, I'll buy your business for $10 million, generally, when it's not software. If it's a software business, this is where things get interesting in the United States. It's not like for like. There's generally like a sale that happens at like a 1 to 20x the revenue of the business. And all this is just me. And again, this is completely just my perspective. Revenue drives the sale price. So if you have a $10 million painting business, they're going to buy it for $10 million. But if you're a software business and you're making $10 million, you can sell between a 1x and 100x. Let's say you have $10 million in revenue and you're a software business and they just really want your business because they think it can scale. And scaling means like the problem with services businesses is the more you work, there's only so much you can do in a day. You can do a 16-hour shift a day. You can do a 12-hour shift a day. So you're not going to like ratchet up or cross-sell or like mass distribute to millions or billions. But in software, you can. So say Apple buys a business. They can cross-sell that with their iPhones and then boom, they've got this like huge thing like Beats. I don't know if you guys know, but Apple bought Beats headphones. And the way that they thought about it was like, look at all this revenue from Beats. we can cross-sell Beats and the iPhone together and just get a lot more revenue. But in the software business, there's a possibility of like upside being enormous. Like some of these businesses, they sell for huge amounts of money because they're a software business. On top of that, there is favorable treatment for software companies that fit specific requirements. And these requirements are called QSBS. I don't know if I'm going too deep, but QSBS is very favorable to software businesses. So not only are you getting more money, you're also getting favorable US tax treatment for people in the US. That's where there's a lot of wealth created from a lot of software companies. So like Tesla, like the way I view Tesla, it's like a big iPhone. It's just a big iPhone that just moves itself around. It's a big battery and it has basically an iPhone component and it just can figure out how to move itself from point A to point B, but it's really a software business. That's why their like multiples are so high, because they have this software that all these other car companies don't have. For software, you get very favorable treatment sometimes. And that's where like enormous wealth is created. But also it's software, it scales. So you can sell to billions, you can sell to millions of people. So you can distribute it and you're not limited by hours put through of throughput. So it's like there's so many upper known factors that create ultra wealth when software is built, unlike services businesses in the US. So, I view services as really good, stable. You can create wealth quickly for yourself. You can like, say you're a consultant, you can like instantly start charging whatever, $1,000 an hour, instantly start doing that. But you only have 12 hours a day, right? So that's $12,000, which is amazing, but you're capped at $12,000 a day. In software, you're not capped. It's like the number of users you get, which can be unlimited, is insane if you hit the right product market fit. Like, let's look at ChatGPT. It's like they can go after everyone and sell them the free version and they upsell them to the $20 a month plan. If you look at companies like OpenAI and ChatGPT, it is software. With that, you get those multiples where like every dollar in of revenue can multiply, where it's like a 1 to 100. And again, it's even higher than 100x. Like the multiple on OpenAI, I think, is way higher than that. So it's like almost unlimited depending on the perception from the investor. But like either business isn't wrong. It's just different. It's just that's where like ultra wealth is created. Like, if you look at Mark Zuckerberg, it's pure, a lot of it is pure software. You look at like Apple, they're really a software company with beautiful hardware. Tesla, beautiful hardware, but it's the software that like creates these crazy multiples because people see the unlimited. You could sell that Tesla self-driving software to like any car company if he does that. The hard fact is like software businesses take a long time to build because you just don't have anything. It's easy to be a service provider. So anyone with stock options in a software business has a lot more potential upside. I've seen a lot of companies in demo day get LOIs. So letter of intent means they sign something agreeing that they're going to buy the product. You can also do a real contract and say, when we go live, we give you a 90% discount. Revenue does make investors, like I actually go to Y Combinator demo day. And when someone says they have like $200,000 in revenue, I perk up. Like, I'm like, oh, where'd they get that revenue from? Others, I just like the founder. And it's very case by case. Like some founders are super charismatic. It's so irrational how investors invest. There was one founder I invested in because he was super friendly, super articulate, had a really friendly demeanor about him. And then he came up to me and he's like, hey, I'd like you to invest. And I did, because he walked up to me. He was like bold enough to do it. My research, I was like, okay, who is this person? I looked at them. I saw they had a YouTube channel, 7,000 subscribers. He could communicate well. He was good at communication. I didn't think about the revenue for that guy. Then over here, you got this guy who like I also invested in. He's like, hey, I just started my company. I'm crazy good at sales. I have $200,000 in revenue. That's crazy. So it's very different. And then I have other founders who just like, I wanted to prove a point because he's like, and the founder came to me and said, I don't have any revenue. I don't have any users, but can I get advice? And I was like, screw it. I'm going to help this guy more because he needs it. And nobody invested in that. But I'm like, let's see if he can do it. So for you, I would create momentum. Momentum is either users or revenue or LOIs or like something to keep investors interested. Because when you come to demo day and you say, we are ... we're doing this to change the world, investors judge quickly. And I can tell you like the one thing, and this is just me, if a founder comes up to me and like pitches me and shows me big vision and they're articulate and can communicate within like a minute, I'm like, all right, I might give them a chance. If they come up to me and say they have a lot of revenue, I might give them a chance. Others might just say the right thing. I saw one really famous investor, and this one founder runs up to him and says, blah, 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 blah. He starts saying, what I liked about the investor, he's very, very honest. He's like, I just don't invest in that space. Getting a no directly to your face is better than not even talking to the investor. You know, your chance is just to talk about the big vision. Like there's a company that's trying to build a Concorde competitor. I don't know if you guys know what a Concorde is. It's something that goes the speed of sound, essentially. They had to build that thing. They had no users. But the vision was so crazy. And I think investors bought into that crazy vision that they invested, into that Concorde Y Combinator type company. I'm pretty sure they had no users flying in this thing when they pitched on demo day. I remember I saw someone on stage say, I'm going to cure AIDS. And they started to cry on stage. It was really like emotional. I think they were genuinely like, it was a doctor, an MD. And I think he really was just like on a mission to like figure out how to like stop that from happening to people. I think that passion is really important. Did he have any users like that he cured of AIDS? No. Did he get an investment? I don't know. But I still remember that pitch because he was so emotional on stage. It like resonated with me. He never came up to me. He went up to the more prestigious, whatever, investors. And I don't know what happened, but I was like, it's a really good pitch. I'll remember for the rest of my life. Rock solid founder, had an MD. So even talking about your past, like who you are as a person, like this is a medical doctor trying to cure AIDS. I'm like, that's really noble. And he spoke about his other teammates and they were up there on the stage also. But they didn't have any users. They didn't have a working product. For me, when it's software vendors, I do scrutinize them more when they don't have users. So you're going to be battling a lot of different challenges depending on the investor psyche. Some investors immediately hit it off and resonate and want to like just invest. But the best entrepreneurs figure out ways to you have to keep moving forward. Outside of Y Combinator, outside of all of that, it is enormous. Like if someone is paying you, they're not blowing smoke up your ass. When you're doing a startup, everyone is going to say they're going to use the product. I will use it. I love it. It's great. The moment you ask for like money, you're going to get the true them. And it's either ugly or it's like really good. And money speaks like enormous amounts on like how people value you and your company. So you can play the long game and you don't have to go for revenue, but people can be lying to you. You can look at usage. If people are logging into whatever you've built or they're using it daily, usage is really important. It's like Facebook. I'll give you an example. Like Facebook and Google did not have revenue for years. They didn't even know how to get revenue. At least Google didn't. Google had no idea how to generate revenue. And then they realized, oh, we have all these users. They love the product. We're going to put ads in there. And that's how they started to generate revenue. But it took them time and they weren't quite sure how to do it. But users or revenue are both really valuable. So like get either one, just those two indicators. That's it. It's just revenue or users. If you don't have either, it's really bad. If someone tells you they love the product, they're going to use it, and then they pay you and they don't use it, but they pay you, I hate to say it, it's still a user and they're like giving you revenue. I remember I spoke to one entrepreneur and this guy's worth like $200 million. And I remember him saying something, people buy my product and they literally put it over there in the corner and I still charge them even though they're not using it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, that's their fault. They never came to me and asked me how to use it. He's like, it's just more revenue for us to get. And this is like a business to business product. But the dangerous thing is to get into the trough of like infinite feedback. And I and my, our team, we're victims of this also, where we'll get somebody, they're not even using the product and they're not paying you. Because they're just basically saying it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You need someone that sees the value and like will pay you and give you either cash, a check, credit card, take any PayPal. It could be anything. So like if they mention a way to pay you, just say, okay, we'll do that. So I think that's important, is just to be open to like how they want to pay. But revenue or users are probably the most important things. If you have neither, it's an indicator that either you're trying to build something really long-term and you understand that, or you're in your own head and you're delusional and you think people think your product is great and it's really not, which is scary. But, again, like software companies take a lot of time. That's why it's like sometimes, I spoke to 2 entrepreneurs today. It took them like 2 years to get to the point where they got users. they were showing us this product. It looked really great. And I'm like, it took them 2 years to figure out how to even get to this point to build something that they wanted to build. But now, we were on the call and we're like, we'll use this, we'll try it, So like sometimes there's a long path to get to that point. And don't expect everyone to just like immediately have product market fit. So like you're going to have to just get feedback loops going. And that's what this team did, is they just got feedback loops going and realized, oh, this over here is what actually people will pay for, not all this other stuff we were thinking about. So, but revenue today is revenue today. It may not predict the future, but it's revenue today. And what I mean by that is like, there's really outdated products that people use that they will stop using in the future, like VHS tapes. You guys probably don't know what those are, but it's like people all bought VHS tapes and the revenue was great, but then it like faded out. So you have to continually look at the future and like invest and figure out like, what's the next thing? How do we do that? Because we have this revenue today, you need to pour some of that money into the future investments. Amazon's really good at this. I feel like they get it. They pour money into like different areas and they think about this is going to be like a future possibility. They had drones that would drop medications off. I don't know if that worked. They had drones that did security in people's house. I don't know if that worked, but AWS freaking worked. They just were like, hey, let's just rent out some of our server space and see if people will use it. And then boom, AWS became like this crazy revenue stream as big as like Amazon proper. And they're like, oh, this one worked. So they were really good at like testing what the future is going to be. Bookstores are great. That's what Amazon was originally in bookstore. It's like, but it wasn't like their biggest driver of revenue. And then they realized all these different areas like that they got into, but revenue itself is like super critical, but also like rapid iteration on future. So it's like, there's a few things there. Just be careful and make sure you're following the law. There's something called an accredited investor. I'm not a lawyer, but you want to make sure that shows up for like the right person. And what an accredited investor is it's someone that like fits the profile that you can like ask for money in a broad way. An example is like this person in New York City is making $3 million a year. The government views it in a weird way. Like you're either making a lot of money personally, which makes you a sophisticated investor, or you like have a net worth of some amount and then you're a sophisticated investor. Just follow whatever's out there and those requirements, and then you can do that. I don't think it's bad. Like if you have a user, you have a user, right? If you have a user that like is using an iPhone and they're like a multimillionaire and Tim Cook is like, hey, I'd love you to buy some Apple stock. Why not? Like you can do that, but you can get in trouble if you were to just ask the wrong person for investment. So say you had someone that had $10,000 in their bank account and they're making $20,000 a year. They're not bucketed from the government as this type of entity that you can ask for investment. As far as I know, I would ask someone else, but like you can have like sophisticated background to say like this person clearly is someone that we can show this to, and then you would show it. But you need to ask the question like, are you an accredited investor? If they say no, you can't ask them to invest. If they are, then you can ask them to invest. So like it's hard to know who. I mean, the one thing that like Y Combinator does is they just bring all accredited investors into that room in Y Combinator. And then those accredited investors have this net worth of some amount, or they're getting income of some amount. And then because of that, you are sophisticated enough to make these investments in these high risk companies. So startups are really high risk. The government is trying to protect people from getting taken advantage of. Like it happens in crypto, and somehow crypto gets away with it. I don't know. I don't really fully understand the law there, but crypto, like you can buy crypto, but you can't invest in a high risk startup. But if you want to show a button, you can do it. Just figure out how to find high accredited investors. One way to do that is like PitchBook. It's a very expensive software, but PitchBook, you can target higher net worth real estate people. And then you go, okay, this person clearly has like $30 million in their bank account. I can show them this thing. I would just be careful with the law. That's all. And just, you don't want to break the law in any way. I guess try not to be taken advantage of is probably the most like best answer I could give. But also like, a seed round, investors are really investing in the person. They're not investing in the revenue or the product per se. It's generally the person, product, and revenue. It's all the piece of it. But try not to be taken advantage of where like you take on an investor who's like taking advantage of you. If someone comes in and says they want a board seat and they want a liquidation preference and they want just strange, they call it structure. Structure is like a term for like complexity in an investment. If they ask for a lot of structure, I wouldn't take the investor on. In the past, I've spoken to investors who like wanted structure. Don't be desperate. Like the wrong seed investor can kill the company faster than you realize. How can that happen? Say they take 51% of the company, get full control, even before the company has like users. And then they're telling you how to build it because they know better than you, even though you're the person who started it and like wanted to like get it going. I think there's a lot of that happens in certain areas of the world where like investors are super aggressive, super draconian, where they just want to put a lot of structure in place. And then the founder is not even motivated. Like the team's not motivated because then there's this investor over here telling you what you need to do. You know, it happens like time and time again. You'll see a startup, you'll see a founder, they get excited. It doesn't even have to be a lot of money. It could be like, whatever, $200,000. They take $200,000 from an investor. The investor gets all this structure in place to basically like control the full entity of the company. And then the founder gets demotivated and the company dies. The one nice thing about Silicon Valley is you get the right investors in place. They understand incentives of people. And then the investors like are hands off. And I'll give you an example, like Facebook, Peter Thiel, love whatever, politics aside, Peter Thiel said, Mark Zuckerberg, you're going to run your company the way you want to run it, and I'm going to not muck with it because I believe you're like figuring out how to get Facebook like a gazillion users. Because of the psychology of that, Mark Zuckerberg had full autonomy to run the company with the team. There were a lot of people that helped him. All those people had that autonomy. Not all of the time, but in the early days, it creates a really nice synergy where the team has to be fully dialed in. So, a seed round can, like Mark Zuckerberg, I think he got, I don't know. I don't remember, but he got a bunch of money from Peter Thiel as the first investor in. Was that seed money? Probably, maybe not. But careful what investors you take, because you take the wrong one, you're dead. You get wrong co-founder, you're dead. So like you have to work with really good people, and like the early days, you just have to trust the people you work with and give them like full empowerment, and the incentives have to be put all in the right place because it's so freaking hard to start a company, guys. It's so hard that like if your incentives are off even a little bit, chances of success go down by like, I don't know, God knows how much. But I've just seen so many companies implode because of like founder issues or like investor issues or just other issues. But if you're all aligned and the company is having hard times, you'll get through it. Like, I hate to say it, it's like the investors are on board, the founders are on board, everybody's like aligned with this big mission, yet things are all up. I've seen a lot of founders like redirect it and fix it very, very, very quickly, or like just over time. I've seen that time and time again where like you just have the right chemistry, the right stuff. But, pre-seed, of course you want users, of course you want revenue, but you may not have revenue. And then seed, you may or may not have the revenue you want. But investors are looking at you, your vision, your team. They're seeing if you all can execute together. And if they feel weird about it, they'll recoil and they may not tell you the reason why, like they're not investing. But again, at the end of the day, like what Y Combinator says is make something people want. It's like make that thing that people will use. You don't even need investors then. If you want to go that route, go that route. If you want investors, you don't have to. I mean, I love the idea of having like an enemy. And I think a lot of companies had this idea of an enemy. Like with Apple, there's a famous photo of him like staring at IBM and like pointing at their logo. And back in the day, IBM was like the big guy. They were like the best computer company in the world. And Apple was the underdog who was like trying to create something like designer friendly and for the creative person. I think they really embraced the challenger mindset, which is I'm going to go after this industry and disrupt it. I think that's really, it rallies people a lot. And there's a company called Box.net or Box.com. They really like challenged Microsoft, and they said, whatever you built, we're going to make ours so much better. And they challenged Microsoft directly, and it created a really good like alignment internally in the company to push them forward. And you see it time and time and again where a company will have an enemy as a small company, like a formidable enemy, and they'll challenge them and like go full force. You don't want to sue them or anything like that, but you like internally like set the mindset towards this is the company we're going after. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be a smaller startup. It could be a mid-sized startup, but like having that really aligns your team. I think it's okay to just like say we're going to like change things and we're going to like disrupt the industry and we're going to make things different. Tesla did that. Like they were like, we don't like the gas car, whether you like or not the gas car. It's like that was Tesla's mission, was to like create sustainable energy, and the gas car is just in its way to like getting towards that goal. having a challenger and like saying we're going to disrupt the industry is really great and powerful, and it creates meaning in a company. And I do that myself. I may not talk to the team about it, but I'm like, these are the companies like that I want to disrupt, and I want to like go after and change and like fix things and make it a better world, because these companies are just not doing it the way that I or our team thinks about things. I think it's really motivating, and like it demotivates some people because like, whatever. There's a startup over here that raised $150 million. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, this guy over here raised this much money. Oh my God, what are we going to do? In my head, I'm like, all right, game on. This is like, we're under-resourced. We're the smarter, faster, nimbler team. We're going to slowly kill our competitor. And, you look at like Dig versus Reddit. And, this is back in like the 2005 era. Dig was the big guy. Dig like was the cool company. Everybody used Dig, and it's like the awesome thing, and it was just so cool. And Reddit was like the underdog, and they hated Dig. They hated Dig. And they were like, we're going to go after and slowly, methodically like kill Dig. And fast forward 10 years later, no one knows Dig is non-existent. No one cares about Dig. It's all about Reddit. And it's like, they did it. They dominated and killed that company. You can become, a challenger. Just careful how you do it. You just don't want to get sued. You don't want to like publicly bash somebody, but like you want to like set it up. I mean, for me, you only have so much time in the day, and you only have so much energy. And I people talk about like daily energy. Like some people can work for 5 hours, some people can work for 2, some people can work for 16. If you put it towards like any legal like action, I feel like you're using that energy towards not building the product. And it's very dangerous to like go down that path, because, and I'm talking about like sending them some legal document, getting a lawyer involved. Lawyers will eat your time, and they want to, because they're billed hourly. So like they kind of want to rile you up. They kind of want to get you to a point where like you want to take more legal action, and then they know that you may or may not have the fund. They're hoping you have the funds to pay them as the lawyer. But my thinking is always, avoid legal action at all costs. I think it's a time suck, so I would just avoid it. If you want a creative way to like work, to try to work with that kind of company, I don't really have an answer there. It's like, get more users. Like, that hurts other people. And how do you get more users? I don't know. It's like guerrilla warfare. It's literally guerrilla warfare. Can you convince 5 people to use your product? Every day you only have so much energy. I'd rather you put that energy towards getting 1 user than like engaging in that way. So it's just like, you have only so much time, and it's like, what's going to make the product better? What's going to get you users? And then it's just going to eat away at the competitor. I feel like you're going to have to figure out a way to like get them to become way more aware of you through users, because they may not be taking you serious. People don't take you serious until you're serious, and they're like, oh, he has 20,000 users. I do think that, you can always poke the bear. There was PayPal once had a conference, and then there was a company called WePay. WePay came outside and literally put an ice sculpture outside of a PayPal conference and said, PayPal freezes your accounts. And they put it right in front of the conference, and somehow it got the press involved. The press put up this whole article, and WePay got a bunch of users, and I don't think they sued WePay. It's kind of like you can kind of poke the bear. There's ways to get them like riled up. There's people that like to incite a lot of energy and emotion, and people like getting riled up. Some founders are like built that way. I'm not. Like, I'm more like, I just want to eat away like a barnacle until they can't not notice me, and then I overtake whatever they're working on. So it's a different approach, but there's like different approaches. You can go the other route, but it's like, it works for some founders, and I'm sure there's others. Like, you go on Twitter, they're all on there, the ones that are like super controversial, and they're just saying stuff to like incite and get people to like look at their products. I don't have an answer though. It's complicated. But every founder has this like dilemma. It's like, I need to go after this, or these people are blocking me, or this startup is like, they're doing unlawful things, or they're just doing things like in a wrongful way. So it's like, you got to approach it in a way that'll make you successful. But revenue solves all problems. Like, that's just, remember that, like, revenue and users will solve a lot of this in itself. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you all for coming. And I think that's it for this session. And, I'll just keep doing these every month. So feel free to come to any of the sessions to keep yourself motivated, or just to like learn anything. So